Test 1 2 3. 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 1 2 3. 1 2 3. 1 2 3. Test 1, 2, 3.
Which allows customers to get real-time data on their water use and identify possible leaks. As we look toward the
Oh, okay. Okay, I have to put that over there on that one.
Hey, Stan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Clark.
Okay. Just nod your head. It's fine.
Clark, are you still there?
Stan,
Hi.
this is Mike.
Oh, hi, Mike.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I'm glad you and I showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here to check on my my executive director,
Ah,
our manager, just to make sure he's telling the truth.
ah.
No.
So he's gonna talk. He's our speaker today.
Yeah, he is.
Interesting.
How you been?
How about Jennifer going to NID?
Boy, isn't that a surprise?
Kind of going over to the other side, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say. I would say.
That's going to be interesting negotiations with when you guys have to do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That it will be. Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. How you been?
Good.
Good, good. Staying out of trouble?
I wouldn't put money on that.
Listen, I don't know why my picture doesn't come up.
All right, all right.
You
Well,
have to
welcome
click on
everyone.
Video.
It's 12 o'clock straight up. Don't look at your watches. Hey, after being away from each other for a year, a couple of minutes late so we can all socialize is kind of nice. So thank you. Well, welcome everyone. I appreciate everyone being here. All right, why don't we get right into a few things? First one is the pledge. Karen Johnson. Oh, no, that was last week. So my apologies. The pledge, Joanne Hilton, please. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, everyone. And how about Art? Is Art here? He's no Art. Okay. So, okay. Thank you. You knew where I was going with that, huh?
Okay. All right, everybody. In the things that we think, say, and do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And you'll notice I didn't even look at it once.
Oh, that's impressive.
Right?
Impressive.
And number 5, our favorite, have fun.
Given that you didn't look up here, I think you should be president next. Alan, do you have a poem for us?
Ladies and gentlemen, Memorial Day commemorates the men and women who died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. As one journey ended, a new one began to these heroes. The light at the end of the tunnel remained bright as they went on their journey to forever, missed but not forgotten. Clouds decorated the spring sky. Heroes' minds cluttered with thoughts of the past, but they didn't know why. Being careful not to slip on the smooth pavement beneath their feet, they marched with caution on a mysterious trip. A trip to somewhere they didn't know, where they might find their way, a place they knew they had to go. Pushed along by an inner drive, they focused on a bright future, one where dreams come true and they could thrive. All those around them seemed to glow, faces smiling as they beckoned them to move with the flow. Their minds in a confused state, but open to entering the future to discover their fate. The wind carried them along as they glided. They listened to angels above, singing a melody, a beautiful song. One journey ended, another started, one where they would be remembered, heroes forevermore as they entered the land of the dearly departed. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. As a veteran and a paid, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. All right. Any visiting Rotarians here today? Nope. Okay. I do want to say hi to Nat. Nat, if you can hear me, hi Nat. So I take it you're not doing the Happy Bucks today.
No, sorry.
All right. Okay, next time. Josh, hello, Josh. Good to see you out there. Stan and Michael Lee. So with
Good
that,
morning, everybody.
do we have any visitors here today? And I see a few, so yes. Here, Rich.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Vince Casignolo. Vince is a new neighbor of mine, came from the Bay Area. He had a nursery business there, and he relocated here, I think about 7 months ago, 8 months, about 4 months ago. And he was up in Sun City where we are, and he says, I heard there's a lot of things going on. Why is nothing happening up here? So I said, welcome to COVID. So anyway, but things are opening over there. So Vince, oh, by the way, Vince, this is his first foray, if you will, into a service club. So I want you all to be nice to him. No, if you're nice to him, he won't know the difference. So don't be nice. Vince, say hi. Hi. Good.
Thank you, Richard. And well done, Vince. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Any other visitors? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Thank you. I would like to introduce Dre once again. She's here for her third time from the youth center. Second? I can't see. There's such a glare. I can't see. Anyway, I was telling Christine that, and you guys are going to be introduced.
It's two. I would know if it was three. She's definitely a bright spot in here. No offense to anyone. All right. Other visitors. I know we've got for the presenters for later. And
Primo Santini, who many of you know. Unfortunately, he has to work with David Benio at Cornerstone Associates, but Primo is a lifelong resident of Lincoln, went to Stanford and played baseball with my husband and went to school. Were you a former? No, his dad was. I do remember that. So welcome.
all right, thank you, Chris. That's what he tells us. All right. All right. So actually, we have a couple of bright young faces here today, too, that I'd like Chris to talk about, please.
It's okay here. You're not in school. I am very happy to introduce these two. Actually, Brian's going to introduce them, but I want to tell you, I don't even know if they really realize how they got this award. They are the outstanding senior boy and senior girl of Lincoln High School, and we presented them last Monday. Yeah, right? Yeah, time goes so fast. They received $1,000 from us, and you don't have to use it for school. You can use it for whatever you would like. But there's 5 areas that they're selected for. Or selected, how they're selected. Anyway, it is athletics, popular vote, leadership, grades are in there too, and citizenship. So it's the whole community of Lincoln High School, the students as well as staff, as well as administration select these two. So there's this Connie Brown does a lot over there with tallying up all of the votes for them. So I will give it to you to present.
So first, I'd like to call up the outstanding girl from Lincoln High School, Alina Dern. Congratulations again. Good to see you. Would you like to, can you tell us a little bit about your past and then where you're going next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. To start off, I want to just say thank you so much for the award. It means a lot, and I will definitely be putting the scholarship towards college to help out with that. A little bit about me. So some activities I'm involved with at Lincoln High School. One would be speech and debate. I'm wearing the shirt right now for our club. We have a meeting later today, but yes, I've been in speech and debate since my sophomore year. Public speaking is something I really love doing. And this year I have the honor of being president of the club and having created the Rhetoric League for us to compete in. We're trying to get other schools. So we have a league and we have the events. We're just trying to now get other schools to compete with us because right now it's COVID. So they're a little bit, they have their own stuff going on. It's a little bit hard to get them to join right now, but my vice president's going to get them to join next year. In addition to that, I'm a tutor at our school. I've been also, sophomore year, I've also done tutoring. I've done marching band since my freshman year. I'm a percussionist. And I find playing everything from the xylophone to the snare drum to be a lot of fun for me. And I also did soccer for a long time, although not for school, for rec soccer. And yeah, so those are some of the activities that I really enjoy doing at Lincoln High School. And for where I'm going for the future is I'm going to be heading off to college at UC Irvine in September. So I'm very excited about that. I'm going to study international studies for my major and start on my way to becoming a diplomat. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations again, and best of luck to you. One more round of applause for Alina, please. Now for the outstanding boy from Lincoln High School, JT Willis.
Hi, everyone. I want to say thank you as well for this award. It means a lot to me and my family to be able to get this award. At Lincoln High School, I participated in football, baseball, and basketball throughout the 4 years. This year was extremely tough with every sport being played in 2 months, 3 months. It was super tough, but I was glad I was able to do that. I was quarterback on the football team. I was pitcher and outfielder of baseball, and then I also played guard for basketball. It was awesome being able to play all 3 sports at this amazing school. So I'm very thankful for that. I will be attending Lewis and Clark this upcoming fall. I'm planning on playing football. Hopefully I'm able to be the starting quarterback, but if not, I'm going to be majoring in sports management, hoping to get an internship for any of the big sports industries such as Nike, Under Armour, any of those, Adidas, any of those. So I'm super thankful for that and super excited for that opportunity.
Well, congratulations again. Thank you. So well, thank you both, and all the best to both of you in whatever you do into the future. Yeah. Take care. Pardon me? I know, but it says boy, so I stuck with it. All right, so any birthdays out there? I am checking, yes. And we had one this week, but she talked about it last week. Actually, both Jan and Ma Barker, yes. So happy birthday again. Anniversaries.
Linda wasn't feeling that good through the evening last night. So, and besides, she's home trying to figure out whether it's worth announcing for $53. So she got another week or two to decide, and we'll announce it together.
Yes, happy anniversary to both of you. And I think you both have to pay, right? Yeah. So that would be great. Thank you. All right. Moving on here. Happy Bucks. Wild Bill, would you be kind enough to do Happy Bucks for me? Dave did let me know. Here we go. Thank you. Dave did let me know that he wasn't going to be able to be here.
Thank you. I'm going to start right here. Yesterday, I was puttering around in my front yard and I saw this bronze colored Corvette coming down the street. Well, I waved to him and he waved back. And the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. I want you to know that.
That equates to 70 kilometers.
Thank you. Is that $1 for every 10 over?
Yes. My son just told me today that it looks like he's probably going to go bi-coastal. They're opening up a new operation. Mark runs a back office for some major companies. This is going to be a very large bank that they're going to starting out of South Carolina. And he runs an operation now at a Folsom. They've got TikTok and a bunch of other really big operations over there. So it's been running a back office in COVID has been a challenge, but for most businesses. But anyway, so he'll be entering a new life, going back and forth between both coasts on a regular basis. So those of us who have done that on a regular basis say, oh, we're glad we're out of that life.
Thank you, Richard. Anybody else happy? Oh, well, we got presidents happy. All right, that's good.
Yes, I am very happy. I was actually in the green room prior to coming out here and thinking about what is, and they don't have any snacks or drinks back there, by the way. We need to work on that. Anyway, so I'm there's so many things to be happy for and thankful for. And I want to say truly, I want to thank you all for helping me through this year. It's been a big year, something very different for all of us. So I'm happy to be part of this club. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you've done very well. That's my opinion, of course, but under extreme circumstances, you really held us together.
Well, thank you.
Fishing. I'm just going to say I have to do an IOU, but I mean, super excited. The Potter's open tonight. If anybody is coming to the game, please have patience because it's a whole new staff there, except for one person. And I'm going to be helping with a few things, especially I'm so excited that Piper is going to be out there and our new Cletus is going to be there. And we are going to be, not tonight, but Saturday night, I believe is going to be military night. So if you get a chance, come on out. We have shade, so you can't complain about the heat, or at least the sun on you. So yeah, so there we go.
Okay. Who else do we have here that's happy? Ken, I was about to stop by you. Yes, I thought you might be happy.
I am very happy. And for the reason that I'm happy, I'm only going to put $1 in because there's not much left. And the reason why is because this Saturday, my daughter is getting married. It's going to be great. It's going to be the final kid off the dole, I hope. And it's at our house and it has been a pain in the butt. And they drained my wallet. We've had to get the house all fixed up, the landscaping and all this mowing and all this stuff. And I got a horse-drawn carriage for my daughter to take her out there. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be beautiful. And I'm going to have her off the dole.
All right. Thank you, Ken.
Was that Ken buying us all?
That was amazing. That was amazing, Ken. I pictured all of that. That was lovely. I watched the district conference on Zoom Saturday and Sunday, 2 hours each day, and outstanding speakers. And the 11th grade student that spoke was unbelievable, just unbelievable. She was a contest winner. So, and then the remembrance that was done for our Tony Sticks and Steve Archer, and the club commercial video contest with our club as one of the ones, and the Pinewood Derby contest. And I've never seen one in action, but I felt sad for the little cars that stopped short of the finish line and one that lost a wheel. Oh. And then the club presidents and the awards, which I know Brian will tell us about. And that was just great. And then the main speaker was a jet pilot, Brian Schull, the SR-71, fastest jet, Blackbird, yes. And is this right? 2,000 miles per hour, 700 feet long, and 70 feet. I needed some help from a pilot here. Thank you, sir. And then 80,000 pounds of fuel, not gallons, but pounds. I don't know, but yeah, but it was really great, really great.
For those that have been members for a while, he spoke to it was a program one day at Bonarotis. Yeah, we had a really nice meal. It was really a special day, and he spoke more than an hour and had a slideshow that was awesome. It was really knockout. It was really a terrific program. I'll never forget. Yeah, terrific stories.
Yeah, the district conference was pretty good. There was one speaker that was particularly moving. Dean Raw, I think is her name. Oh my God, I was crying. I mean, it was an amazing speech. If you get a chance, it's recorded. I recommend listen to her and listen to the speech contest winner. This little girl is a sophomore in high school, and she was absolutely captivating. Absolutely the best I've ever seen in the speech contest. So I'm happy and thanks for bringing that up. Also love having Primo here. That's great. And having Dre back. And go Potter up.
All right. Thank you, Joanne. All right. Anybody over here happy? President in waiting. I don't know what do they call you? Kimberly. How you doing, Primo? Good to see you.
I found out this last week that 8th grade graduation promotion is happening in person. So I am super excited that I get to watch my daughter walk the stage.
Well, so I usually don't carry cash, so I'm going to make up for a couple of times that I should have expressed my gratitude and glee. So one thing that I'm not really happy about is that Jennifer Hansen, tomorrow is pretty much her last day as our city manager. But what I am happy to report is we have been onboarding our interim yesterday and today, which is why I have to leave a little bit early. Mark Scott, he comes to us most recently from Indio, but he's actually a resident in Fresno, and he is amazing. He's got over 30 years of city management experience. Done a lot of long stays in what would probably be difficult cities. So I think he's going to be a really great transition person for our city while we search for the permanent city manager. And then also this morning, some of you were there. I know Bill was there. We badged our new public safety chief, Matt Alves, who's going to be joining our club as a member of our city's corporate team. And we also promoted internally a new lieutenant and a new sergeant. So it speaks very highly for the leadership in our public safety that we were able to fill those positions internally without having to do an external recruitment. So all good stuff happening in the city of Lincoln.
Primo, welcome. It's good to see you. Graduation, all kinds of grandkids graduating from all kinds of schools and levels and so forth. One cousin is going to, she plays softball for Venetia High, and she's got a scholarship to Bowling Green, and she'll be playing softball there. So that's kind of exciting too. So the rest of them are in high school and down. So.
Excellent, Claire. Great. All right. Anybody else happy? Nobody's happy. Yeah, Richard's happy. You get to talk again.
Yeah, as unusual, I'm to public speaking. Anyway, the interesting story on the RS or the SR-71 And I've seen Brian speak a couple of times. He is absolutely outstanding. But it got to be the SR 71 because when it was dedicated, our President Johnson was doing the dedication, and he was supposed to be the RS 71, and he screwed it up. And as you know, no one ever corrects the president. So that's how it ended up being the SR 71. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I guess RHIP, right? Rank has its privileges. All right. Are we good?
All right. Thanks, Wild Bill. Appreciate it. All right. Why don't we move into some committee reports? I'll start with Richard, since your voice is warmed up. Nothing? Okay. All right. Chris, youth? Okay. All right. Kimberly, community?
Been a long time coming, and Joanne and Paul really stepped up and got the tables and everything that the senior center wants. And now we have my landscaper from work heading out this weekend to get some decomposed granite stamped out so that the picnic tables have a place to be, and to de-weed that location as well. And then we'll go ahead and get the fruit trees in from Fowler Nurseries.
Thank you, Kimberly. And Claire, anything social? We have to use this so that people on Zoom.
The July one is going to be a Potter game, and we're working on that. We're going to reserve the place so we have it for the VIP area. And then the next, well, I'm not sure when the next one with 5 weeks is, but we'll figure that out. There's probably not 3 or 4, but I think it's October. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Claire. Clark, anything with membership? Nothing with membership? All right. President-elect.
He's counting the meetings. So just for some of you, we've been working on a number of different budgets that you've seen flying around in your email boxes. There's one for the Lincoln Rotary Club Foundation. There's one for Lincoln Rotary Club Properties. And then I also recently did a small calculation of people that have budgets to worry about for actually our club budget. So if you can take a look at that and get me any feedback and input that you have, that would be really helpful. You know, our budget this year is kind of on a wing and a prayer because we usually kind of go off what happened last year, which was a little different. So, and then prognosticating that forward for next year, not really knowing what our fundraising activities and results are going to be. So I anticipate that this budget cycle, we're probably going to have to come back a couple times with amendments and revisions, but to the extent we can do it the best we can the first time, that's always easier. So that's about it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Appreciate it. Yes, I'm heading back that way too for John. So it's perfect.
I want to thank Carol. We had the wonderful opportunity to go to her home and have a wonderful gourmet meal cooked by her, served by Truman and Gail. And it was just a lovely evening. This was as a result of our fundraiser auction. And a friend of mine bid on the dinner at her house and won, and he graciously invited Mike and I to go along and another couple. And it was just a great evening, and you did a terrific job. So thank you very much. And it was a great fundraiser for Rotary. So thanks.
Thank you, Joanne. John, properties.
Okay, properties. The insurance is in place. Property management firm is in place. We're waiting to receive the deed from the Big Bend Ranch. That's still pending, but we hope any day that'll end up on our plate. We're also considering the sale of one of our vacant lots. We also talked about some consideration for recognition of Robert S. Dart, who is the person that gave us all this wonderful money and property. And we approved the budget for next year.
Great, thank you. All right, anyone else have anything to bring up? Yes, Pete.
Mentioned that the Veterans Memorial in McBean Park will come online on Monday at 11 o'clock. I would like to see a lot of folks there. It's interesting and well done, and at a great expense. Excuse me, something went down the wrong way, but it's beautifully done and inscribed with granite bricks with names, history. My name happens to be on there, but just because I could contribute it. But and lastly, I'd like to say it's good to see Primo. Been a long time. We still have a barbershop for sale. Okay, and thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Pete. That was one of the things I wanted to bring up too. So I was over there on my way to the meeting here this morning, and they're putting the granite up with the names and the commemorative pieces. It's looking fantastic. I think Lincoln will be proud of what this memorial will look like. And the only thing for me is I wish I would have got my name in sooner, because I won't be up there on day one. So yes, the dedication is at 11 o'clock, actually 11:11 on Monday, the 31st. So if you can come out, I'd love to see you out there. It's been a long road. I know there's some people here that have been involved with it. I know Frank was on the board for a while, if I remember correctly. And it's been a long time coming from some people who started this, I think 2018, something like that. But it's looking really good. So I think Lincoln will be proud of what it looks like out there. A couple of other things. Best of the best. So you still can vote, right? We have until Monday, the 31st to get our votes in for best of the best in Lincoln. And as far as the awards, Jan, you brought that up. So thank you for that. I'm going to defer that to next Thursday. And the reason being is that I wasn't at the in-person meeting, and Mary Jo is going to be here next week to present those to all of us on Thursday. Okay. But it was a good year. And then the final thing I have is we have a board meeting today at 4 o'clock. It's via Zoom. So if you want to attend, let me know. We'll make sure to get the link out to you. Okay. All right. Any final things before we move into our speaker for the day? Nope. Okay. Chris, would you be so kind?
So kind. It is my pleasure to introduce. It's so funny to see Andrew. My grandson's Andrew. He goes by Andy. I call him A. So excuse me if I say. So Andy Fecko, just like gecko. I bet you hear that all the time, huh? Sorry. Serves as the general manager for Placer County Water Agency. He has worked in the water and energy field for over 2 decades with a particular interest in water supply reliability, water rights, and hydroelectric energy issues. In his 14 years at PCWA, Andy has focused on licensing the agency's Middle Fork project and marketing the project's energy output. Bay Delta Regulatory Affairs, securing the agency's water rights and entitlements, and watershed management issues. Andy began his role as PCWA General Manager in March of 2020. He is a graduate of UC Davis and a longtime Placer County resident. He lives in the rural community of Forest Hill, California, with his wife and 2 children. So please give him a round of applause. Andy.
Thank you for the welcome. Primo arranged this. Thank you, Director Santini, one of my 5 bosses. I think we're going to bring up a presentation. Perfect. And if you could just go to slide 1, it would be great. Sure, or I'll speak louder. Yeah, again, thank you for the invite. Yeah, I've been at PCWA for almost 15 years now, and seen this county go through a big amount of change. I've been in and out as a resident of this county since I was born. My folks live on the Bear River on Placer County side off of Lone Star, back by Auburn Valley Country Club. They've had that property for a long, long time. And yeah, I went away to school and came back to PCWA and said live in Forest Hill. I think I'm going to start with a little bit of history because I think it's critical to what we do as an agency going forward. I'm going to remind everybody PCWA is a public agency, 5-member board of directors. Primo Santini is one of my board members. We are an agency. We are a countywide agency, and we have 3 sort of different functions. We are a water utility, so we serve our own retail customers. We also serve wholesale customers. City of Lincoln is one of our wholesale water customers, as is Roseville and the San Juan Water District, which serves Granite Bay. We're also a merchant hydroelectric generator. So we're one of the many generators in California of electricity, and we take that responsibility really seriously, especially in today's tight energy market. And I'll talk a little bit about that project. And then third, and in some ways, maybe most importantly, is we are a countywide advocacy agency for water resource development. And so we're just one of actually almost 180 small and medium and large water districts that exist within Placer County. Not a lot of people know that there's 180, but there are these districts that are as small as one neighborhood, and they may rely on one well, and it may be somewhere in Colfax or Meadow Vista or Sheridan. And our job, one of our jobs at PCWA, is to make sure that that everyone that lives in the county, that none of them run out of water. To the greatest extent we can, we try to advocate for water resources in Placer County, both for current and future residents. So with that backdrop in mind, let me talk just a little bit of history. So I think everybody sort of knows that California really started booming after the discovery of gold, and Placer County was at one of the epicenters of that. And so very, very quickly in the mid 1800s, we got a lot of new residents. A little story I'll tell you that right about where present day Folsom Dam is, for about 30 miles up the canyon in the North Fork, the Middle Fork, and the South Fork of the American Rivers, which all feed Folsom Lake, there was something like 20,000 people living in those canyons, in 100-yard long claims, and they were all gold mining. And that happened very, very quickly. Within a couple of years, those people flooded in and began mining gold. And what most people don't know is that to mine gold requires water. And so one of the first things you do if you show up to mine gold is you start building water resources. And what that means is you need to, because it only rains in California for about 4 months out of every year, you need to build reservoirs. And if you build a reservoir, you got to find a way to get water from your reservoir where you stored the water when it rained during the winter and get it to your gold claim, which means you build canals. And so the infrastructure that the miners developed using hand tools is frankly pretty phenomenal. And we have the legacy of that today. So PCWA owns and operates 175 miles of, that's the green on the map there, of literally gold rush era canal systems. And we serve about 4,500 customers off that canal system currently. And it's, everything from people that are watering their vegetable gardens to, I heard Fowler's earlier, commercial nurseries to agricultural operations out here west of Highway 65. We serve rice farmers and cattle irrigation, pasture lands, all that stuff. Everything that we're able to do in that green canal system is a direct legacy of gold mining. So that initial period of water development lasted about 50 years. What happened? Hydraulic mining, which is the use of a water cannon to wash a hillside through a sluice and collect the gold out of it, was outlawed. The reason it was outlawed is it was clogging every river system in the Central Valley was clogged with sediment. And it was no longer possible to navigate barges to deliver agricultural goods. For instance, where the Feather and the Yuba River comes together in Marysville, you couldn't get a barge past there anymore. And so all the folks that were growing wheat in that area couldn't get their products to market anymore. And so through a number of court cases, hydraulic gold mining was outlawed right around the end of the 1800s. And so there was another event that was occurring right then, and that was that people decided it was pretty nice to have electricity in their homes. It was a good deal. And there was no electricity generating infrastructure in California. In fact, it was kind of a novelty, right? And only the largest cities like San Francisco had electricity. Well, that began to change. And so right around the turn of the century, as gold mining was phasing out, the predecessors to Pacific Gas and Electric Company looked at the system of reservoirs and realized you've got gravity on your side, right? And the hydroelectric turbine, the turbine wheel was invented just down in El Dorado County, and it was starting to be put to use to power things locally. And then when PG&E came in, they bought essentially all of that gold mining infrastructure and began to install hydroelectric generators on it. And then they needed transmission lines to get that electricity to market, and Sacramento primarily, but throughout the area. And so that system, especially if you look north of the county line, it says Lake Spalding up there, north of Highway 80, as you're driving up to Lake Tahoe, you'll see a number of lakes on your left. Those were Gold Rush era hydraulic mining lakes that were bought by PG&E and began to be used for hydroelectric generation. But that wasn't the end of the story with PG&E, because what they realized was we had a really good confluence of events in Placer County. We have water, that's good. We had a way to store it, that's also good. We had the good fortune of a transcontinental railroad, right? And a transcontinental railroad means you have access to markets. And so what happened in the Loomis Basin, sort of Roseville to the Loomis Basin to Rockland to Newcastle, was the largest fruit growing industry in the nation grew up because it had access to water supplies and a way to get their product to market. And so PG&E became a water retailer, kind of like we are now. They began selling water after it had gone through hydroelectric turbines, produced energy. The offtake of that, they began to sell to growers in this area, frankly. And they were able to get that product onto a rail car. That rail car stopped basically where Ice Lakes is off of Highway 80, picked up ice, and you could have fresh fruit from California on the East Coast in about 5 days, which was unheard of, right? We take it for granted, right? But there was a time when you just didn't have fresh fruit a lot of the year, and this made it possible to do that. And so that was sort of the second era, was our agricultural era, which lasted right up until about post-war period, just after in the 1950s. And not that it stopped, it's still actually in many ways going strong, but Placer County began to be a destination for people to move to, right? And so Roseville began to grow. There was a lot of jobs because of the railroad there. And so Roseville began to grow. And so our third era began, which was as a business community and as a residential community, and especially in West Placer. And so we began to think as a county, we had the system, we were buying water from PG&E, a lot of it was going to agriculture, but the folks that were running the county after the war began to think about, how do we guarantee that we've got enough water supply for our future? And you have to remember what was happening at that time. Major metropolitan areas that were far, far away from the water sources. So Los Angeles, San Diego, the East Bay, San Francisco, they were all prospecting, if you will, in the Sierras, and they were looking for water supplies for their growth. And, they obviously had, San Francisco has Hetch Hetchy in Yosemite, East Bay mud, developed the McCollum River supplies and exported that water. There was water being exported from Shasta at the time to growers. Oroville was being built. So the folks in this county saw that happening in the mid 1950s. And they had a vision. And the vision was, we're going to build our own water supply, make sure it stays locally here for the benefit of the economic growth in Placer County. And they took a huge risk doing that. In the late 1950s, PCWA was formed as a special district. When we first began, we were essentially organized under the County Board of Supervisors. And so the Board of Supervisors would have their meeting, and then they would gavel that closed, and then they would open the Placer County Water Agency Board meeting, and it was the same directors. And that worked for quite a while, but we needed to fund this project. So the project I'm talking about is the Middle Fork project. And if you look on this map, it's labeled French Meadows Reservoir there in the middle of the county, and Hellhole Reservoir. It was a project designed by McCreary Koretsky engineers, and it was designed to be multi-purpose because it needed to be. It was going to store almost 350,000 acre feet of water. And so for perspective, a house today uses about a household of 4, and a residential development uses about half an acre foot of water a year. So it's a lot of water that's in storage. But it needed to pay for itself. And so part of that project was not only to build reservoirs, was to also add hydroelectric generation to it. And so hydroelectric generation is a feature of this, and it provides energy to the California electric market. Well, that was the design. They had a design now, but now we needed a way to pay for it. And so what we did was took a bond measure to a vote of the people of Placer County. And the bond measure was about $150 million. And at the time, imagine, it was more than the assessed value of the entire developed land in the county. So the people of this county were asked to put their property up as collateral to build a water resources project. The amazing thing is that that bond measure and the ability to build this project passed by a 25-to-1 margin. And in today's times, try to get that, right? That's a 96% passage rate. I mean, today if you can't even agree on the sky's blue, right? Most days. And so it was phenomenal, right? And there was a marketing campaign around it. And so it passed, we got the bonds, and a key feature of it was that the way we paid for the bonds was for 50 years, the Pacific Gas and Electric Company agreed to take all the energy off the project, and they would make semi-annual bond payments to pay off the debt, and in exchange, Placer County water supply from the project. And it worked out really well. And PG&E made the final bond payment on May 1st of 2018. Project paid for so years. And all that time we were enjoying the residents, the water supply, and we now market energy, and I'll tell you about that later. But yeah, phenomenal. There was about 3,000 people that worked on construction on that project. Biggest thing in the county for 5 years. So two big dams, 27 miles of tunnel, hard rock to move water from dam to dam, and from powerhouse. The tunnels perspective are just about the size of this route. That's about the size of the tunnel, hard rock, 27 miles. We didn't tunnel boring machines. It was all drill and shoot with dynamite, and then muck it out, start over. It was a really phenomenal. I've been in those tunnels. It's pretty phenomenal to think about doing that in the mid-1960s. Project came in on budget, and we began generating electricity, delivering water in 1967. So that's the history. Let's go one slide, and we'll talk about this a little bit. So got a little bit of a video here to take you to where we are today. So I said we are. We're in this phase now where we've got technology industry, we've got all kinds of industry in Placer County, we've got a bunch of intellectual capital here, and we're growing, right? I mean, again, we're back into boom times in Placer County with residents find greener pastures. They're moving here, they want to build houses, but they want to be able to shop here, they want to be able to work here in many instances, right? And so our job, PCWA's job, is to supply one of the utilities you need to make that happen, right? Utilities are the foundation of a good economy. You gotta have roads, you gotta have electricity, you gotta have water, you gotta have sewers. If you've got those things, you've got a formula that you can build on, right? And every city knows that, the counties know that, and so our job is to be really, really good at the water supply aspect of it. And so I show you this little video, if you could start it for me. It might work. Click on it if you.
Placer County, home to some of the highest quality water in the world. Our water supplies here are more reliable than in many California communities, but there are challenges ahead. In the coming decades, as weather patterns become increasingly variable, droughts are projected to become more frequent and severe. Demands on our water will intensify. To address these impacts, Placer County Water Agency is making it a priority to drought-proof our supplies. In the past decade alone, PCWA has invested more than $22.6 million in our water system to increase our ability to pump, store, treat, and move water when and where needed. Notable initiatives include optimizing PCWA's Middle Fork American River project, where we can store a combined 340,000 acre-feet of water in 2 major reservoirs. Upgrading the American River Pump Station, which draws water from the river for deliveries throughout West Placer County. Adding new technology along our Gold Rush Canal system to monitor and regulate water flows in real time to better match supplies with demand. Improving conveyance and distribution capabilities along our treated water system by replacing over 7,800 feet of aging pipeline, relocating and/or replacing over 14,000 feet of aging water mains, and investing in advanced metering technology, which allows customers to get real-time data on their water use and identify possible leaks. As we look toward the future, we know that long-term planning and investments in creating a resilient water system will continue to pay dividends in meeting the ongoing needs of our community, whether there is a dry month, dry year, or drought. Learn more about our commitment to being wise stewards of our natural resources and to providing reliable water supplies at pcwa.net.
Go one forward for me. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so big investments in infrastructure. Here's our latest project we're working on this year. We hope to complete. These are big pipes. So I said we built this project to supplement our PG&E water supply, and this is the area which is right here in Ophir, where the two supplies come together. We get water from PG&E from the old Gold Rush system, and then we get water from our Middle Fork project, and they come together right here. And of interest to the city of Lincoln is that both of these water supplies are available to come to the city. And so we can blend these two, we can get from one source or the other, and it all goes down the hill to the same place. There was in that video, you saw the Lincoln metering station, which is off Sierra College Boulevard. That's a new facility, and that's optimized to take advantage of both of these supplies of water. And you know, when you put those two supplies together, it's pretty bulletproof. I'm going to talk a little bit about this year because people always want to know about two things: the weather and how's the water. I'm going to talk about that later. But yeah, it's really important to have diversified water supplies, robust water supplies for the future out here in Lincoln. So next slide, please. Okay. Watersheds. So you heard us talk there just a little bit about future climatic conditions. It's actually we've got some independent research that we did with some regional water purveyors around us, and what we've seen is if you just look at the last let's call it 70 years of trends in Placer County, we are seeing later falls, earlier springs, and less frost days. So we have a particular weather station we use at Blue Canyon. Typically, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, had about 75 frost days per year. That's the evenings, sun goes down, it frosts. That's down to, in the last 10 years, about 25 days. So 2/3 reduction in frost days at Blue Canyon. So what that means is less snow. Well, when our predecessors built the Middle Fork project and when the Drum Spalding was built, its operation is predicated on the largest reservoir you have is the snowpack. So it snows up above you, It stays frozen. You can use the water in your reservoir sort of until March or April, and then the snow begins to melt and it replenishes your reservoir. Well, if you don't have that snowpack, it might rain just as much. And that's actually our projection is that over the next 50 years, we'll get the same amount of rain. But what we're going to continually get less of is snow. And so our largest reservoir is shrinking. And so that means we got to reoperate what we've got. But we're also looking at other ways to optimize. And so 2014 was a big wake up call for us. We had a fire called the King Fire. And the King Fire was started in El Dorado County intentionally. Yeah, and it burned through our, okay, it burned through our water. It on the ground, have it soak into the ground and run off into your reservoir. We thought that there was a pretty good case to be made on an ROI there, and so we undertook a project. And so this video is about that project. And if you could hit play for me on this video, that'd be great.
I'm sorry, was there another one here?
Yep, right here.
Okay, here we go.
For the first time, the water agency in California is looking at its headwaters on federal lands and making investments of its ratepayers' money to thin property that we think is critical to water quality and water quantity for our ratepayers. The agency owns and operates a hydroelectric and water supply project in the Middle Fork American River. We have critical watershed lands that serve our citizens, both from an energy standpoint, but also from a water supply standpoint.
The 35,000 acres behind me is really the watershed for this reservoir. And it's a combined about 25,000 acres of federal land and about 8,000 to 10,000 acres of private land.
And those headwaters lands above our reservoirs were in critical need of thinning to reduce the chance of catastrophic wildfire.
The idea with that is to create gaps in the canopy, which then will break the spread of a fire up and then also create a more diverse understory habitat.
The French Meadows project had been on the Forest Service project list for a long time. but because of their funding constraints, they weren't able to get to the project. So the agency started looking for ways to accomplish forest thinning on national forest lands. And we had to find partners in order to make that work. Chiefly, we had to work with the U.S. Forest Service because they own and operate that property.
Bringing back more of a historic fire regime to this landscape is going to benefit our watersheds, our wildlife. That's really how this landscape evolved.
The French Meadows Project is really an innovative partnership. And the innovation comes from not only the multiple funding sources, but the multiple expertise that those partners bring. And so we went out looking for opportunities to partner with folks. And we came up with two major opportunities, the state of California and the Nature Conservancy.
We've inventoried the fuels on the ground. We've modeled the potential behavior under given weather conditions and on this terrain in this watershed so that we know the effectiveness of treatment in reducing fire danger.
We're bringing state dollars, state funding, primarily greenhouse gas reduction funding, as well as funding from the Sierra Nevada Conservancy to actually accomplish work on federal lands, which is something that hasn't been done before. And we're matching those state dollars with our ratepayer dollars, but we're also bringing in federal money as part of the U.S. Forest Service opportunity and corporate money from beverage companies like Coca-Cola and Coors who have an interest in reducing their water footprint in this watershed. So when you put all those sources of funding together, you come up with something like $12 million to accomplish thinning and prescribed fire on about 22,000 acres of federal land. This is down in the trenches getting this stuff done, and so being recognized by a statewide agency for us is just tremendous. And really what it does, it's an opportunity to spread this message of how we did this project in a collaborative way. And our sincerest hope is that other watersheds, other water agencies, other people with energy projects look at what we've done here and try to duplicate it in their watershed. That's the only way we're going to get California forests back into good shape. Emissions, so last year's fires, highest fire number of acres burned in state history. We did like 4.4 million acres burned last year. You all know because you live with smoke, right? 4.4 million acres burned. It was more than the emissions of all the cars, trucks, and everything else in California from wildfire, right? And so being able to take some of that money that we're all paying into and bring it back to the county to be able to do this kind of work was we like it. It's a big accomplishment for us. And so we're gonna continue down that path. We're on year 3 of French Meadows. If you ever make it up that way, have a look around. All the work is pretty obvious. We're right now, in fact, this is the last week of it. We're doing prescribed fire. Forest Service is doing prescribed fire right now. So the idea there is that you can't put prescribed fire on the ground in the condition that the forest is in. So we've done a lot of thinning work over the last 2 years. And now it's ready for some prescribed fire, and we're doing some low intensity burns in that area to clear the underbrush. So anyway, all right, it's dry. It's dry. Everybody knows it's dry. It was a bit of an unprecedented year. Let me know if you want me to try the mic again. By the way, is it worth trying?
You can try it, and we can see if it. I have to switch.
Dare I say anything in the mic?
You might get feedback because I was having to go through the webcam to see if they could hear it through that.
So the deal about this year is that we got some precipitation. Okay, we've had drier years in the past. What we've never had before, at least in our sort of 60 years of operation, is we never got any rain in the fall. What we got was we immediately went to snow. Right. And so the systems we got this year, because we had a ridge of high pressure off the California coast, it was driving the storms from the Gulf of Alaska, sort of from north to south along the spine of the Sierra. So every storm we got was cold, and every storm we got, it snowed down to 3,000, 3,500 feet. But the ground below the snow was dry. It never really got sort of that October, November rain. And so the snow we had really good snowpack. Actually, we had in January, we were at like, 90% of average snowpack. Here's the trouble.
as the snowpack started melting and as our spring, February, March, April, you see May, dried out and the snow melted, started getting warm, instead of making its way down into Folsom Reservoir and our reservoirs, it just soaked into the ground. So the general rule of thumb is, so we got snow sensors all over the watershed, and we kind of, because we have a hydroelectric business, we want to know how much fuel we have, right? So we track it very, very closely, how much snow is up there. Well, generally, we know how many acre feet of snow is frozen, right? And we then say, okay, about 3/4 of that is going to make it as runoff into the reservoir, 3/4. This year, that number was about 35%. So less than half of expected actually made it into the reservoir. So our reservoirs are low. In particular, Folsom is very, very low. Folsom is a reservoir that serves multiple needs throughout the state. The Central Valley Project, which is a federal project, all of us paid for it that have CVP contracts, and it's got uses throughout the state. Well, they were using Folsom Reservoir for all kinds of things over the winter, expecting that snowpack to come. And when it didn't, we've got what we've got now, which is a very, very low Folsom Lake. So we're working really closely with operators at Folsom to, Folsom's a supply for places like Roseville, the city of Folsom, San Juan Water District, the city of Sacramento. We're working very closely with them to try to help and make sure that everyone's got access to water this year. Our supplies are good. We've got enough water for all of our residents from our 2 sources of water. What we are doing, though, is we always encourage people to use water as efficiently as possible, right? I mean, water running down the street doesn't do anybody any good. And so we want you to have gardens. We want you to have fruit trees. We want you to have all that stuff, but we want you to not overwater it. And so we're stepping up our efforts this year on that. And then we got resources to help. We got WaterWise house calls and all that stuff that we do to make sure that that everyone's using water as efficiently as possible. Because as it turns out, if we can save some drops of water, Folsom will end up in better shape at the end of the year. And that's really what we're going for. Is you got to think about, okay, we'll make it for this year, but what does next year look like, right? So what happens if another dry year gets layered on? And so that's the kind of planning we're doing right now. It's a very dry year. It's probably, 1977, driest on record, 1994, second driest on record, 2021 is the third. And so it was pretty dry year this year. So that was a lot, and I probably spoke too quickly, but I'm happy to take questions on anything I said or anything. Primo, what did I miss? Did I miss anything? You want to add anything to any of that?
Really helped my education process if Andy had been there and made this presentation then. Instead, it took me 8 years to kind of get to this same point. So you really got a graduate course in PCWA and how we operate. And the thing I want you to take away from it is that when I got on the board in 2013, replacing Alex Ferreira, I thought, well, it's going to be easy. I mean, I was on the city council. You have multitudes of areas, land use planning, you have water, you have the airport, you have everything. This is just one thing. All I got to do is be the plumber of the county, right? We got to make sure we have enough water, and we need to stay ahead of growth and put the pipes in the ground, and everything's cool. But as you can see, there's a lot more that goes into it. And the thing that Andy didn't touch on that I've really learned is the consequential decisions that are being made today are not the ones that deal with today. They're the ones that deal with 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, and trying to protect our water source. We obviously have to stay ahead of the growth curve for the benefit of all of us. And then the biggest issue we're dealing with right now is I think the regulatory environment. It's becoming more and more difficult. I can't even imagine what it would take to get French Meadows and Hellhole built now, let alone for $150 million or so. I mean, we can't even get Sites Reservoir built up there. And that's not even an in-channel dam, that's an off-channel dam. So it's something that I think we're going to be dealing with. And I just wanted to say too that Andy is uniquely positioned for this. We've had 3 managers in the history of PCWA. Dave Brenninger was really appropriate for the time, very good administrative manager, and had an eye for talent and hiring the right people to put on the water side and later on the electrical side. Einer Maish worked as an engineer for PCWA. in the 1970s. I think he first started working for PCWA. He ended up replacing Dave Brenninger. And a little sidebar, one of the things I really like about PCWA is we are financially stable, which allows you to actually have a position that's called Director of Strategic Thinking. Literally, that's their job, to long-term plan for the agency and the people of Placer County. Einer held that position. Andy, after he began working on our FERC licensing renewal in 2007, finally got that license renewal for the Middle Fork Project Authority in 2020. So it took about 14 years to get a renewal of a license. It actually was longer than that. And it's probably going to cost about $125 million to execute that license. But that's the kind of regulatory burden that you have to navigate. And Andy, with his background, Einer was the engineer, and now Andy is well respected throughout the region and very well thought of on all these regulatory issues. His reputation in the local region, the state, North and South state, and also at the federal level allowed projects like the French Meadows forest thinning project to get done. And so I think I really like to appreciate the work Andy does, and it turned out to be a lot more interesting and complex job than I imagined in 2013.
Questions. All right.
So we're pretty well situated for water, but there's an overlay to this, and that's the state. And so if you would spend a few minutes talking about how the state's decision impacts us here in Placer County.
Yeah, so in the, you recall the 2013, 2014, 15 drought, right? And so we had plenty of water supply back then too. And the governor of the state of California at the time, Mr. Brown, said, we're all in this together and we've all got to conserve together. And it was a really interesting thing because, and he put statewide conservation mandates on. So we had no choice in the matter, right? It's a really interesting paradigm to do what we do, which is spend all of our time thinking about how to deliver water supply reliability in good times and in bad, and then make those investments to make sure you can do that. You at your home can have water at all times. And then the governor comes in and says, never mind, you don't get to use those investments. That's what basically he told us, right? It's a heck of a thing. So we don't have that this year, and I think there's only one reason we don't have that this year, and that is that it's a election year for the governor. I think if it wasn't an election year for the governor, there would be mandatory water conservation, no matter how you're positioned. It would be mandatory this year. So right now we're doing this voluntary thing with our regional partners, right, for the benefit of the fishery. And so the politics of that are, you can't look like you're not doing anything, and so we're doing the things we can do. Water use efficiency, right? Doing all that kind of stuff is good anytime. I think we're going to be okay this year. I think if next year's dry and the governor survives November, it's a different, we're going to be right back into where we were. Sorry. It is, but I just think he'll have more leeway. I mean, this is a focused election, right? He'll have more leeway next year. But I think you're absolutely right. You can't say, in many ways, you can't say no to them, right? I mean, PCWA is formed as a special district under a special act of the state legislature. In many ways, we are a subdivision of the state. I can't say no. I don't look good in an orange jumpsuit, for one thing. But it's just a thing. And so what we try to do, we spend a lot of time and effort. Director of Strategic Affairs, Mr. Frenzy, spends a lot of time and effort at the state capitol with our regional associations, right? Advocating around water supply reliability, but advocating against, for lack of a better word, dumb decisions. And the state tends to do that because where's the voter base? There's 22 million people that live south of Tehachapi. They don't live next to their water supply. They don't live in a they live in a watershed, but it's not much of one. And everything that we do as a state is centered around that high density population in the Bay Area and south of Tehachapi. And so, little old Placer County, we try to be bigger than the shoes we fill, but it's hard because that's where the votes are. So that's a great question. So we do, so like this year, we have a commitment to the Lower American River of sending some additional water down the Lower American River. The caveat is I find a transfer partner, I sell it to somebody, right? And let me tell you, we get the most we can possibly get. And so we mitigate, right, for our impacts to the Lower American River, but at the same time, we sell that water, and what that does is it makes us financially healthy. It keeps our rates lower, helps us with our infrastructure, the things Primo was talking about. So in many ways, we've formed a business plan around what you just said, which is to say when we have to send water, we sell it, and we bring that money back to the people of Placer County. So, yeah. Absolutely.
And also, oh, could you talk to us about the power that's produced by PCWA, all their power plants up there, and also does that power go to PG&E? Does it sold there, or does this go to Pioneer? Is Pioneer buying from you?
So good questions, Ken. Let me talk about hydroelectric system. So I said reservoirs, 27 miles of tunnel, 5 powerhouses, 3 of them are major powerhouses. And so about 1.1 million megawatt hours a year. And I'm going to give you perspective on that. That's just about enough to serve everybody on the west slope in Placer County on the west slope of the Sierra Nevada, so not including Tahoe Basin. So it's quite a bit of energy. We do not sell to PG&E. We are a merchant generator, which means every day we sell into the California Independent System Operator market. There's a marketplace. It's roughly equivalent to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. It's a commodities market, right? And so we're a commodities provider. And so people buy from us every day through that exchange. We also do some forward transactions. We also have products and services that we sell like renewable energy, carbon-free energy, and we have those marketed to a number of people. Pioneer they're just finishing their contract with us if they haven't finished it already. We had a contract with them for about the last 5 years on some stuff. I don't think we're contracting with them next year, but that stuff comes and goes. They could call us next month and need something, and if I have it, they'll do a contract for a month. And so it's not like the old model of vertically integrated energy utility, everything from the generator to the outlet in your house, right, and everything in between, that's gone. We are, there are people that provide electrical goods and services in different ways throughout the state, and we're one of them. So our job is to optimize the revenue, right? I mean, we don't have any responsibility to keep, we don't have any people that pay a PCWA electric bill. Our job is to, for the people of Placer County, make the most amount of money we can selling energy, and then put that back and reinvest it. In fact, you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to give it to you. This year, after, let's see, we took over the project May of 2013, so 7 years Primo, we built up $12 million after paying all the bills, building our reserves to over $50 million for anything that breaks on the project. We were able to take $12 million and distribute it, split it between the agency and Placer County. And the agency side, what we did with our roughly 6 was put about $2.5 million into fixing some problems in underserved areas of the county. There's a bunch of pockets of the county that are on wells or don't have great water supplies. And so PCWA took that 2.5 and investing that into those underserved areas. Took about the other 3.5 and put it into something called FAP, the Financial Assistance Program, which is a grant program being run for the small water districts in the county. Forest Hill, for instance, got some money. Swan Valley got some money. Tahoe City got some money. Heights got some money. We basically took grant applications and then pushed that money out. So when I say we're trying to make the most amount of money we can, it's for that. Money comes in, we pay the bills, and then whatever's left over, we distribute to improve water resources or sustainability or electric generation throughout the county. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Just real quick, the one thing we don't want to do with that money is subsidize rates. Okay, it indirectly can have an effect on rates because rate money doesn't have to be spent on some of these things, but we do not want to get in a position where we're taking that money and subsidizing rates.
Yeah,
not a good business model.
It is. It's actually, Primo, now you mentioned it. So you think about this. So we're in a little bit of a tough spot, not tough, but a little awkward some days because we're a water utility, right? And that's a business line that we have. But we're also this countywide water agency over here. Well, the countywide water agency, everybody in the county voted to build this project, right? Everybody in the county voted to build this project, not just my water utilities. So we're very, very keen on keeping those two things separate because we want to take the benefits that this project now produces and distribute it to all the residents of the county, not just my utility. And so we are very keen, our board is very keen on keeping that a bright line between those two things. So the benefits go to everybody in the county. Places like Roseville and San Juan, for instance, they get very, very cheap, reasonably priced water from this project. That's the benefits that they get. But those districts up the hill, they can't get water from our project. It's uphill. What they get is essentially that proceeds from the nets from.
Andy, as I'm sure you're aware, Lincoln is on a high growth prospect. We're looking probably triple population by 2050.
Yep.
Given the sobering stats on snowpack and climate change, are we going to be able to support that kind of population growth?
Yeah, so great question. Everywhere I talk, I get that question. Because it's on people's minds, right? The answer is yes, and it's a simple reason is that right now on the Middle Fork project, we use about a third of what I said those reservoirs are about, let's call it 340,000 acre feet. The most that we're allowed to actually take out of the river in any given year is 120. Okay, that's our water rights for 120. The most we've ever actually taken out of the river is 40. So there's 80,000 acre feet. Okay? And that is the water that we reserve for economic development in Placer County. So we are very, very closely coordinated with the city and the county of Placer to understand what their plans are. And before they change their plans, they come check with us because they're required by law to come check with us. And we look over their plans and say, yes, we have water supply to serve. And thus far, and I'll tell you, the PCCP is tremendous help in this because what the PCCP has done now is, in my mind, firmly delineated now where Placer County is going to preserve and where Placer County is going to grow. And now all of those general plans are going to be conformed into the PCCP. It makes our job a lot easier looking forward because we know firmly now where there's going to be growth. Couple that with, so even 10 years ago, we knew what the build out was going to be like and we could serve it. Now with new state mandates on outdoor irrigation and on landscape looks like, we actually have more water supplies now in reserve than we did 10 years ago because nobody's putting in, new developments aren't putting in lawns anymore, right? It's all low use and high efficiency and all that stuff. And so we feel really good about the future. It's infrastructure. I mean, that's the key word. So I got water up the hill. It's 58 miles from here and 5,000 feet up. I've got to get it here, right? And so Primo said, stay ahead of development. The further you go in time and as the county fills in, the harder it is to trench through the county, right? So the flip side of that is trenching through the county when you don't need to trench through the county is really expensive and you're kind of betting on the come, if you will, right? And so there's this fine line of when do you build your next increment of infrastructure and where do you do it? Our next big increment of infrastructure is a water treatment plant at Ophir and a pipeline down through Newcastle, out through Bickford, and to the Lincoln metering station as an alternate source of supply. That is our next big thing. I think we'll have to do that by 2030-ish. It's going to Lincoln. Yes. Yep. Right through Bickford, across Sierra College, pops out on the other side, kind of skirts Cataverdera and into Lincoln. That is our next big piece of infrastructure. And yeah. So can I go one back from you? She's got a question. He hasn't had a chance to.
Andrew, this was such an informative
important talk. I had no idea. And it's a comfort to know that infrastructure and economic impact, sustainability are all years ahead now. You're looking ahead, which is great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's Primo said it. It's our job. By the way, it doesn't happen without a really good board. I have to say, I am so blessed. My job is made so much easier when you've got a board that's all rowing in the same direction, right? They've got a common vision, right? We need economics. We got to be economically sustainable. We got to have financial stability, and right, the third part, the stewardship part, right? We're going to be good citizens, and we're part of a team here, and everyone wants to live in sustainable communities that are there for the long run. We don't want to overrun our supplies. We got to be considerate of the ecosystem and our environment, and we got to try to help. So that's our board, rowing in that direction.
Just as a follow-up for the previous question, you were talking about the reservoirs and the water rights that you have.
Yeah.
Are there other jurisdictions that have water rights to that water that's in there, or you have to try to work with them? And
in our reservoirs?
Yeah.
No, we own all the water rights in our reservoirs. Yeah. So all the water rights are ours, and they're for the benefit of the people of Placer County. And so we obviously Folsom's downstream from us, and so we have contracts with people. We have contracts with the city of Roseville, San Juan Water District, Sacramento Suburban Water District, but they're contracts. We own and operate the system. People of Placer County own the water rights. What we do under those contracts is deliver them water for a price, and then we put that we take that money and we reinvest it in maintaining the system. So I'm getting the hook. Thank you all very much.
Did you have one final question, Rick? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. That was very, very informative. And I truly never expected to learn so much about this. So I really appreciate that. That was very, very informative. And I want to say thank you to Michael. It looks like he's left us now, but say thanks to him for us. And also, Primo, appreciate you being here. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, nice. That's great. Yeah, just right here on the, that'd be perfect. Thank you for doing that. That'd be great. Yeah, it's interesting. When I walked in the room, I thought, well, where's our speaker? So it took me a second. I had to look past the beard to see, but no worry. There you go. Also, if you'll hang out for just a second, Andy, we have a book. We'll have the sign up that's then donated to the Lincoln Library on their behalf. So thank you. Okay. So yes, they're children's books. Thank you. Anything else to bring up before we close out today's meeting? Well, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it.